You're listening to the Full Gambit podcast with J. Michael Phoenix. Straight talk. No BS. No BS. Inviting you to get off your ass and talk to somebody.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Full Gambit podcast. If you're watching it for the first time, consider liking and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And I want to thank the 300 plus subscribers so far.
Wow.
Doing pretty good. I didn't know it would catch on that fast, but and if you like all the different forms of content, we have some shorts, we have some medium clips for those that just like the content that gets straight to the point between 3 and 5 minutes. Or you can watch the full hour of us rambling on and complaining about the powers that be. I don't know. All the conspiracy theories. But like I said, consider liking and subscribing. And leave a comment and let us know what you like about the show, what you didn't like about the show, your own opinions about it. We could grow with you. Who knows? Maybe you'll be a guest on the show one day when I invite people virtually from all around the world. I don't know.
Cool.
Theo.
Jay.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
We were looking up and now we're back down. We saw the implosion of another domino, right, that fell because of the FTX debacle. You did say it was a contagion, so I want to say officially you were right.
Yep.
Silvergate.
Yeah.
How? What? Why? How? What's going on now? That's a bank.
They were exposed. They were exposed to the point where had FTX been legitimate,
right,
a lot of this would never have happened. The contagion would have been contained. But because FTX has now an $8.9 billion hole, that money that just disappeared.
Just vanished.
Right. And so because of that, that's going to cause a lot of pain in the space. And the first, one of the first legitimate meaning in the financial system, meaning part of the original the traditional financial system is Silvergate. And because they were bold and because they saw an opportunity and had there not been such corruption, had there been regulation,
that R word,
right?
R word,
then this would not have transpired. However, look, the first movers are the ones who do extremely well, or they crash and burn spectacularly.
Right.
And they took a risk. They saw an opportunity, but it didn't pan out the way they had hoped.
One of the models for one particular cryptocurrency exchange that deals with Silvergate is Fortune Favors the Brave.
Yeah.
And I noticed that everybody was like really quick to distance themselves, suspend transactions, et cetera, to, I mean, they didn't want to catch on fire and go down with that particular ship.
The contagion is not over yet.
Still? I was waiting. I'm trying to see if I could bait you into saying it was done because I'm terrified. Because now, as we are recording this particular podcast, we're under $1 trillion market cap after rebounding a bit and trading sideways for a number of weeks.
Right. Yeah.
It's not over?
Oh, no.
How many more dominoes need to fall, in your estimate?
My greatest fear is Binance.
And we see, I've seen the fund sharks around them for the last few weeks. It started with Coinbase that they were trading blows, and that was kind of per usual as of the last, I would say, 4 months. Binance and some other exchange going back and forth on Twitter, so it was like nothing to see here, right? Then they started suspending the BUSD token and the USDC token.
So
And then the SEC stepped in there and said, hey, Paxos, stop minting.
right. So what we're going to see is a concerted effort to bring Binance down.
Does it? CZ seems like very cool and collected though. He took to Twitter, and the sad thing about it is it almost looked like the Sam Bankman-Fried thread where he numbered everything and went down, and it still was like a pile of shit.
Right. So we don't know if CZ is swimming naked. The tide ain't gone out yet. So,
I don't like that. Mind you, I have no money in Binance. I moved my crypto elsewhere, right?
It doesn't matter for us personally.
It's the market.
Matter. It's huge. The implications are huge within the crypto space. It will be a very difficult thing to come back from, especially after FTX, which has been the biggest debacle so far. This will be a bigger debacle if, in fact, it's insolvent. If it's proved insolvent. So,
well, I see a lot of people looking to mark up that territory similar like how the Europeans carved up Africa. Take it with some territory, mark some space, make some leaps and bounds. I think Coinbase stands to gain the most if a Binance was to fall, though. And I think that's what they're aiming for.
Yeah, certainly. The crypto space will be set back years if Binance goes down. The FUD will multiply exponentially.
At least 1 million-fold.
Right. And what we're going to see is, again, increased regulatory pressure. We're going to see laws unfavorable to crypto.
Worse than they have it now, 30% Bitcoin tax?
Worse. Yeah. Worse. Yeah. Because the more things that they can show that are wrong in the crypto space, the more they're going to want, or the more that they will have license to crush it.
Okay.
And so they will appear to be coming to the aid of the common man.
Right, right. The humanitarian effort, save your life savings and...
Absolutely. This is not, we've said it all along, this is not a safe space to be investing in. There's nothing but scams here. And it really either needs to be regulated and taxed to a very small percentage, or completely shut down. If we can shut down the crypto space, that's even better. That's their perspective. And it's more insidious than that. The danger they see is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, never mind the exchanges, never mind the shenanigans.
It's the ultimate currency that they're fearful of.
Right. Never mind the 99.99% shit coins that are out there, right? Which are Ponzi schemes and scams and total crap.
Right.
Right? Look, there are some excellent altcoins, but
a lot of them are just absolute trash. Just flush it out.
Right. And don't forget, there's 20,000 of them, right?
Yeah.
So they have a point there, but it's the Wild Wild West, and those are going to go away because the market matures over time. Give us time. Give us some regulation that makes sense.
Right.
Make the space safer. But their concern is Bitcoin will catch on. Their concern is that there will be mass adoption. And if there is mass adoption, their concern is that it threatens the US dollar's hegemony. It threatens their world reserve currency status.
And it empowers smaller developing nations to catch up leaps and bounds.
It takes the power out of their hands. They cannot allow that under any circumstances. That cannot be allowed. Look, you want to set up, an alternative world currency to the U.S. dollar, and you are Russia, China, Brazil, the BRICS faction.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna bomb the shit out of you before we let that happen. You will see that coming. Look, there's no way we're gonna let you take away world reserve currency status from us. We will bomb you back into the Stone Age before we let that happen. This is how they think. This is how they are. If Bitcoin starts to gain mass adoption to the point where fiat currencies in general, I don't care what, start to become irrelevant, they don't have anyone to bomb.
But they're shooting themselves in the foot, because we talked about it on the last podcast, that this race to quote unquote digitize, especially with G7 countries that don't need their central bank digital currencies, right? The more popular they resist or look to defeat, aren't they fueling the fire to adopt?
Yes, ironically, they are. Exactly right. And so they look, you don't want to admit that the writing's on the wall and it's only a matter of time until your history. You're a dinosaur and
just looking at the meteor
and
coming.
The meteor is coming, right?
Right.
And there isn't a whole lot you can do about it, but you're gonna try and block that meteor. You're going to try and do anything you can within your power to stop it. And this is what we're seeing now. We're seeing with a 30% tax Biden introduced. We're seeing that with the shenanigans the SEC is pulling off.
Definitely.
We're seeing it with choke point 2.0 that has been applied.
Even the Fed with this, they know what they're doing to the market, because I think Powell was just before Congress.
Yeah.
And he had said beforehand that he would be talking about crypto and how they need to get that market under thing, and we are following them and all this other stuff. So they're quite aware of what it is that they're doing to the market.
Most people who are watching this are going to say, you're out of your mind. What are you talking about? How on earth could Bitcoin ever compete on a global scale with the US dollar? It's impossible. I mean, the US dollar is everything. But that's the problem, we are not forward thinking as humans. We are backward thinking. Yeah. As Buckminster Fuller said, the inventor of the buckyballs have been called after him. They're carbon structures that
I was like, what are you talking about?
Extremely strong.
Okay.
That he first designed,
right.
And the strange thing about them is the bigger they get, the stronger they become. Rather than we. Anyway, Buckminster Fuller, incredible genius, way ahead of his time. Years ago, he said, "We are backing into our future. We're not walking forward. We're walking backwards into our future. We're looking back. That is what we know. We fear change. We get a glimpse of what's coming, but we have no clue, nor can we embrace exponential change. It is not within human nature. We want linearity. We want to say that every year things will change by just this much, not too much,
No extreme pivots.
Exactly. So we do not envision, or it's very difficult for us to envision something like a US dollar crash. something like Bitcoin becoming the world's reserve currency by default, simply because it's positioned to, simply because it cannot be debased, simply because it exists and it is very hard money.
A lot of people, I think it's hard to fathom it because of the immensely, and you have to give credit to whoever told the American Dream story or whoever concocted it, because they've done a fabulous job marketing it, right? And that story is woven into universal global history. So to imagine a day without the power of the US dollar and something just automatically, almost overnight, becoming the new superpower, the replacement, and I don't have a piece, and it's finite. What's going to happen when it's all gone and it's all in the hands? It's already distributed because there were some wise nerds, right, mining it for the last 20 years. It's not even been 20 years. Last what? 14, right? Then there were some weirdos on YouTube talking about it on a podcast and just buying a piece here, buying a piece there. And now it's worth $1 million a coin and I can't get 25% of it.
That's the problem. The problem is going to be most millionaires will not be able to get their hands on a Bitcoin. There's only 21 million of them. There's 80 million millionaires.
Is that one of the reasons why the branch of quote unquote cryptocurrencies and tokens may play a pivotal role? Like not the shit coins, like when we talk about the debauchery one, I'm talking about like the Ethereums, the BNBs, the exchange tokens, like is that where they come into play to kind of balance it out? So at least there's something there for those that are late to the party?
I don't think so. I think there will always be new tokens introduced, and they may have a use case. The thing about, and look, there may be a token that comes out in the years to come that will surpass Bitcoin in value,
right?
In total market cap,
right?
Become the number one cryptocurrency in the world. But it's going to be difficult because the head start that Bitcoin has, the network effect that Bitcoin has, the amount of computers that run. How do you talk someone who 10 million computers who are running the Bitcoin algorithm to switch over to some other in the hopes that it will take off?
I get you.
That's the problem. Now it's dated technology because it's 14 years old. And so there's much more happening on other blockchains in terms of innovation. But in terms of solid store of value, unbreakable, unbeatable, forward-facing, unhackable, this thing is a brute. It's a monster. And I don't see that going away. Maybe in 100 years, something may, of course, overtake it. But I don't see in the next 10 or 20 years anything overtaking Bitcoin in terms of share value and in terms of market cap, even though the innovation will be in other areas. And all the smart contracts and all the businesses are going to be using those. And that's a whole other story. Of course, a payment system like Lightning Network that runs on top of Bitcoin will exist. And I believe, like we said in previous podcasts, that these payment systems, because of they're so frictionless, because they're so inexpensive, will replace the middlemen.
Yes.
Like Visa and MasterCard and the others.
And they're fighting for their life right now, trying to innovate and pivot and adopt. They're playing the fence.
They are.
They are playing the fence. They're hedging their bets.
Exactly. But the point is, no corporation in the world has ever, well, maybe not, maybe that's not true, but very few corporations in the world have been able to adopt the new technology that is killing their traditional business model. Very few have ever been able to pivot because it is in their culture. It is in their system. It's in their DNA. Kodak made photographic paper, photographic chemicals. That's what photography was about. You know, when it went to digital, it didn't know what the hell to do with it. You know, corporations like Blockbuster, they physically rented out
their DVDs and the videotapes,
and, you know, and they didn't know what the hell to do with a streaming service. It was anathema to them. Xerox that created the PARC, the Palo Alto Research Project, that gave birth to the Mac, gave birth to the mouse, gave birth to the internet, TCP/IP, gave birth to the graphical user interface that Steve Jobs stole from them when he went to visit one weekend, right? He came back to Apple, and he took his top engineers and they said, hey, we're working on Apple too. He says, forget that. This is what we're doing now. Graphical user interface is the future. And so the Mac was born because he saw it. Right. And you know, the mouse was there, TCP/IP was there, all of that. Xerox funded that as part of the paperless office. But Xerox could not embrace the paperless office because Xerox was about
paper. Cut down the tree, make it into paper, sell it. Yeah. Copies and
So they cannot pivot. They will not pivot. They will die in the headlights, staring at the headlights of this oncoming tsunami, and they can't do anything about it.
Is it because these corporations are headed off by older thinking, stuck in the mud, greed-fueled machines that we call human beings? Because I mean, I don't see, for me, right? Looking at both, understanding and being principled and anchored in one and seeing the potential in the other, I cannot see anybody that is about making money and a shit ton of it, not being able to not only pivot, but be the one. Because there's no reason with MasterCard, Chase, and all these banks that have been around for hundreds of years, for there to even be a Binance, for there to even, like, this isn't like you allowing them to play with a couple $1 billion and you know what you could do with it.
But here's the thing. Visa's business model and MasterCard's credit card, it's dead. Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah. Because charging a percentage to make a transaction happen, right? That technology is dead the same way long distance charges are dead because of WhatsApp, because of the internet, because of voice over IP. So the technology killed it, and there's nothing they can do about it. So now they might, we will adopt Bitcoin as a payment layer. Say MasterCard, right? But that doesn't change. It doesn't change anything. The point is their business model is obsolete. Their business model is a dinosaur. It's finished. And that's the problem. When your business model is going to die because of changes in technology, it's very difficult for anyone to wrap their head around it and figure out, what are we going to do next? How, if all of what we do, of our culture, everything is going away, what do we do? How? We can't wrap our heads around it. So we just go down with the ship. And that's what happens. Ultimately, they try and stave it off for as long as possible, and then they die. And this is what's going to happen to the traditional financial system. Exactly.
So ultimately, after the good wins and prevails, right, there has to be some level of evil that is formed after it, because there's no utopia, right? We're not selfless beings. We kill the financial system as it stands today. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies take over, right? What evil is born out of that? Is it the American Dream 2.0 where...
The biggest problem is that you have traded out one group of billionaires for another group of billionaires. The ones who had...
The devils you don't know.
The ones who had the early Bitcoin. You know, the hodlers from way back. So now it's not as if Bitcoin is now magically distributed amongst
the poor.
Right. Not at all. But you're now going to have very powerful, wealthy individuals that are of the new genre. And so that's a whole other, other story. So there is that argument, you know, the whales are going to be sitting pretty. But there is hope. There is hope that there will be enough innovation that mankind will benefit in terms of more privacy on the internet. Okay. Benefit in terms of more access to financial services. Banking the unbanked, those who had no,
migrants that moved and they don't fall in line.
Etc.
Okay.
And then not to say that KYC is going to go away so that it becomes a free-for-all, but it is entirely possible to make KYC totally private. Totally private in the sense like there's a corporation, a crypto corporation called Null ID. They use zero-knowledge proofs to prove who you say you are, that it is a totally decentralized protocol, right? So nobody has access to it, can get in. You can audit the code and see there's no way in. Same way you can audit Bitcoin code and see there's no way to mess with it. There's no backdoors, there's no crap. So with Null ID and zero-knowledge proofs, it's possible for you to prove who you say you are when you vote, when you travel, when you need in a bank.
And I saw something similar to that. I don't know if it's the same company that got the contract to do it, but Australia recently introduced the same technology for their, master ID that goes into your phone and what's on it. And that's all the same thing. But a lot of people are pushing back against it because of the fear of what's going on in China right now with the social score and the innovations there.
So there's two types of digital ID. One is centralized and controlled by the government.
And the other one is decentralized.
And the other one is decentralized and controlled by no one. Okay? One is good, the other one's not so good. Okay? Totally decentralized digital ID is like totally decentralized money. You can't mess with it. Okay? Centralized money can be manipulated, printed. Centralized ID can be used in very nefarious ways.
How so?
Because now with central bank digital currency is a perfect example of this. You create a central bank digital currency that everyone must transact with. You
Which is what they're doing with the Chinese right now. Yeah.
You create a digital ID that ties to your central bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we know who everyone is.
Right.
And then every transaction, the privacy's gone. Once you take cash out of the equation, and
that's all you have left.
The only thing you have left is central bank digital currency to transact with. Every transaction is traced.
Yeah, and
we know how you spend your money.
Right.
We know how much you spend, where, etc. And then we can tie that into your social credit score. And then we can have a truly dystopian scenario where we can choose, especially if an AI runs it, where you can spend your money.
Who gets personality?
Exactly.
An exact code.
Exactly. So you see, it becomes really problematic really quickly. And this is where we're heading.
Right.
We are heading exactly there, because I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, that could never happen because, my government would never do that to me. This is not China. Come on. But in reality, you give any government that kind of power and it doesn't take long.
And we saw it in the test run. We saw what absolute control in the hands of...
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. And that has been the case historically always. There is not one exception.
There's no country, and I don't want to be biased towards us. Like, let's look at the global scope. Is there any country that is trying to implement these technologies or is trying to embrace? Because everybody's rooting against El Salvador because they adopted Bitcoin first, right? They're hoping, and I see it all the time. I hope they fail, and they're so stupid, and it's so volatile. Why would they do that? But one of the upsides is their tourism numbers are up by 90%.
They have put themselves on the map in terms of innovation, and their leader is now extremely well loved. He has like a 96% approval rating.
Mm.
It's unheard of for someone to have a leader of a country to have that kind of approval rating. And it's because the general population is actually benefiting from this. Mm-hmm. Because they and as long as Bitcoin doesn't go to zero, they're going to be fine. Or I'm not even sure where it has to go. It might have to go, if it goes down to 8,000, they might be in trouble. But the point is, at the moment,
they're holding their own.
They're holding their own. And they're doing well.
Right.
And they are, they have become a success story in not necessarily with the value of Bitcoin itself, but from the innovations they've introduced as a country. They've caught the popular imagination of so many people, and so people want to go there. They want to see it. They want to experience it.
They want to see what it's like. What are the advantages? Because this is ground zero. If this is going to be a global reality, they're doing it there now. Let's see what the quality of life is. Let me touch. There was a good documentary on there's a token that I have called MyContent. Their use case or utility is content, right? And they help filmmakers to produce documentaries. And they have a great documentary on to El Salvador and how they implement it and what the life is. I'll send you the link.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
I'd love to see it. So the leader of El Salvador took a big chance, but he's captured the imagination of those who, because look, the 10% of the United States owns Bitcoin.
10%? Is there already?
Yeah, it's 10%. Globally, it may be 1%, but United States is.
That's a big percentage for them to be fighting against it as much as they are.
Well, I mean, they can't afford the powers that be cannot afford that to go to 20 and 25 and 40 and 50, right? Because then the game's up. So now is the time to crush it. And that's why we see the Federal Reserve, the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, all of them are writing letters to banks saying no onboarding of crypto, no exit ramps.
What happens if, just say, in 2024? Because I'm noticing anything that the Democratic Party and the liberals are doing, Trump is going in a totally different direction.
True.
What happens if Trump was to become crypto-centric or Bitcoin, pro-Bitcoin?
Well, I don't think anything would happen because unless he gets back in, right? I don't think anything will happen unless he gets back in, but the chances of him getting back in
Slim.
are slim, very slim.
Yeah.
Right?
They fighting him hard, bro.
Yeah, sure.
They are fighting him hard.
They will make sure that never happens again. So, so I don't know. And then the other thing is, I don't give Trump a whole lot of credit in terms of brains.
Oh,
he ain't that smart.
No.
So I don't see him embracing cryptocurrency.
You don't see him making that pivot?
Never.
No.
He's old school.
I know the Texas Republicans are heavy on it, and I think they're very, very pro. I don't know where DeSantis is on it, but I don't think he's going to put his name in the hat as long as Trump is still out there stomping around and saying that he's interested in doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how all of that turns out. But the thing is that in the short to medium term, we have a situation where the powers that be are doing their best to hinder the growth of cryptocurrency.
Without proper regulation at that. They don't even want to try put anything towards Congress.
They don't want regulatory clarity. They want it to be such that institutional investors cannot invest because there is no regulatory clarity. If there was regulatory clarity, there would be a flood of investment. And so the way that you keep investment to a minimum is by having no regulations.
So enter at your own risk.
Absolutely. And
if you do, if you're somebody that enters and we don't like you and you've been playing against around, we're going to let you walk right in there, and then we're going to sick our dogs, and we're going to ruin you.
We'll serve you a Wells notice.
What you call it?
The Wells notice. That's what the SEC will serve you. Jeez. Which gives you the Wells notice is a letter of intent to sue. The SEC says we're going to sue you, and you have 30 days to respond and tell us why we shouldn't sue you. And 80% of cases, the suit goes ahead.
So whenever they set their eyes on you, you better believe you're going before courts or whatever the case may be.
Right. I mean,
and it's almost just bad enough that once you are subpoenaed by them, the damage pretty much is done. Because the court of public opinion is rampant right now. And you see markets...
It's backfiring. It's backfiring because, there was they're guilty of overreach.
Very much so.
In a number of cases.
Yeah.
And recently, in the last couple of days, a federal judge has ruled that there's overreach and no good reason for the SEC to have blocked the grayscale ETF of Bitcoin, the one that is spot based on spot price rather than futures price, right? Where you have to physically buy Bitcoin, which would then cause the price of Bitcoin to go up because you would have to physically own it. And so that's why they have been blocking spot ETFs, but allowing futures ETFs, because with futures ETFs, you don't have to buy any Bitcoin and you can bet against it in the trillions if you choose. And so it's a good mechanism for screwing around with the price. But a spot ETF changes the picture entirely, because now a spot ETF requires whoever issues that ETF to actually physically own Bitcoin. And they've got to buy tons and tons of Bitcoin to issue an ETF. The SEC has blocked everyone.
Isn't that illegal?
No.
It's not?
No, it's not illegal. But for the first time, a federal judge is saying you have no good reason to do this because it exists in so many other countries. Two exist in Canada, there's some in Australia, there's in Europe. So why the hell is the United States, which is supposed to be a leader in financial innovation, dragging its feet? So because Grayscale sued the SEC, we're now getting, for the first time, that the SEC perhaps is being unreasonable. And so we don't know where this will lead, but at least we have judges that
are trying to speak on
that are sensible about it. Right. Really what is happening is that
it's regulation by prosecution, pretty much.
That's how the SEC operates. They
and I think it was CZ that called him out on it because they went after him,
right?
With his BUSD, and they were saying that they were operating illegally a security, and they wouldn't list what the securities were. How can you allege someone is breaking the law, right? And you don't tell them how they are? In the name of FUD.
I fear that the SEC may dare to go after Ethereum.
You think so?
It's possible. If they are successful with their other shenanigans, and for instance, they manage to win the case against XRP, say they do that, and then the dominoes start to fall with other cryptocurrencies. They have an argument that since Ethereum has gone to proof of stake instead of proof of work, now
it's a security.
Now it's a security because it's not sufficiently decentralized. Now it has become much more centralized than before.
And is that because the security, in a nutshell, for layman's term, pretty much is investment for profit?
It has a security has to, for something to be not to be listed as security, it has to pass what is called the Howey test, and the Howey test has to show that, or the fourth item of the Howey test is that it is sufficiently decentralized that there is no one entity that will benefit directly from it. So the problem with any blockchain that is proof of stake rather than proof of work is that it becomes tremendously centralized. That's why you have almost instant consensus time, because you have far fewer people, validators, who approve a transaction or not. And so transaction time is, like with Bitcoin, transaction time is like 10 minutes.
Well, why would Vitalik put himself in that position? He seems like a smart nerd.
Because he didn't believe that Ethereum has always been, because it was the number 2 cryptocurrency, has always been said to be sufficiently decentralized not to be a security. And the former SEC chairman before Gary Gensler had said Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities, are not securities.
Okay, so the SEC, so a former SEC governor, and that's what they call them, governors, right?
Yeah.
Has stated that these powerhouses, these founding cryptocurrencies, they're not securities, they're commodities.
Correct.
How did that change with one appointment of a new governor? Some snake in the grass, because that's what he looks like. He looks like a snake. Like, look at his pale skin. Look like Sam's godfather.
Gensler has come out and said everything is a security except Bitcoin. Everything.
Can be.
That's what he said.
Can be.
That is probably
can't be.
From a month ago. Every cryptocurrency is a security except for Bitcoin.
Well, I'm happy I live in the Bahamas then.
Well, I mean, this is what we're facing. And so I can see him waiting until the Shanghai upgrade in Ethereum because right now, proof of work and proof of stake are running in parallel. They haven't shut down the proof of work yet. But at the Shanghai proof of work goes away and it's now totally proof of stake. At that point, I believe the SEC is going to make a move on Ethereum. And why did Vitalik do it? Because he didn't think it was a danger. Why, other than that, did he do it? Because he wanted to be on the right side of the environmentalists. Because now,
I got you.
Right? Yeah. Now to do proof of stake, the amount of electricity that the Ethereum network uses is now one household worth. That's it. They only use as much electricity as a house. That's all you need.
That's not bad.
To use proof of stake.
I mean, his heart was in the right place.
Exactly. But proof of stake cannot ever be trusted. Never. Because it is, if you have enough money,
you could manipulate it.
You can manipulate it.
Yeah. It's open to manipulate.
Right?
I knew that. I knew that aspect
right.
of it.
So it cannot be trusted. And you know, Ethereum is a great project. And it has the majority of the innovation of the crypto industry riding on it. There's so much that goes on top of Ethereum. To see it destroyed.
You don't think he has the swagger to fight off the SEC? You don't think
it isn't going to be that. Look, the powers that be need to kill crypto. They will throw $1 trillion at the problem if they need to.
Jesus.
They will do it. They will throw $1 trillion at the problem if they need to. Yes. That's what we need to do. We'll do it because we need to kill this before it grows, as Bob Marley said.
That's the name of this particular episode. Kill it before it grows. Please, Marley's allow that to pass copyright infringement.
Yeah. So that is what this fight is going to be about. You know, as we said before, Gandhi told us exactly the bullet points as they evolve. And it starts with them ignoring you and then laughing at you. Then they fight you.
And definitely we are in a fight because you see it every single day. And I thought 2022 was bad.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of sunshine in that January, February, And now it's just complete blood blot. Every day it's something negative. It's always led every single time I see his face. Anytime I see those 3 bad words, man, I'm like, enough is enough. And then the headlines would buy it. I saw it when I was coming up here. 30%?
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Hey,
Absolutely ridiculous.
we do what we can.
So why not just, you know what? Hey, it's not for the American people. Ban it outright. No one could operate anything. We're not going to give you licenses. If Europe wants to do it, UK wants to do it, go ahead.
That is coming.
You think the US is going to outright ban it?
If they have to, if they cannot crush it in any other way, ultimately they will have to ban
So
it.
how are we going to take our money out?
How do we take our money out?
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I think if the US bans it, right? If the US bans it outright, I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be more difficult for you to adopt it if you want to buy real assets. So using something tangible, that is legitimately tangible, right? Because we agree on the value of the exchange. So if I want to buy Theo's house that's on the market, and I have $1 million in this particular cryptocurrency, how am I going to take that money out to buy that house? Because I wouldn't mortgage that. I got the money.
So, Neo, there will come a time where it won't matter because you will not have to deal in fiat. You will be able to make your purchases in crypto because the rest of the world will also be on crypto. We will be able to transact in Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency, Lightning Network for small transactions, Bitcoin for big ones, and we will not have to go through the fiat system at all. So that is how it will eventually transpire. That is how we win, which will be the 4th and final stage of this fight.
Okay, guys, that has been a great for Gambit podcast. I think that's a great way to end because you have to know where it starts, you have to know where you are, and you ultimately where we're going to end up. And I still can't, I guess I'm one of those, because it is so dominant, the dollar that US dollar, and it comes with so much fear because, like you said, if you rise up against us, we will bomb you into the Stone Age because that's literally what's holding up the value.
Correct.
That military might. I don't see it going away. I think it's still going to be there like a little leech. Like, okay, all right, yeah, you guys won. You guys could go and exist. We just wanted to test you to make sure you were okay. But please, when you go to make a big purchase, just convert into US dollars so I can have a little piece, please. Not very slimy, right? Someone's going to come in and kiss ass at some point.
The point is that historically, nations have had dominance for a finite period of time before it shifts and some other power becomes dominant.
Right.
Similarly with currencies, we had the UK before, and then it became, which was the pound, and then the US dollar. Before that, it was the guilder, the Dutch guilder, because they were
they had
the first corporations, the East Indies,
the
trading company, and so I think we're now seeing the sun setting on the U.S. empire and the U.S. dollar. It is losing its dominance.
They have no one else to blame but themselves, though.
Granted, but they have, which is something you cannot do with Bitcoin, which is to mismanage it, which is to print as much as, to think the hubris of thinking that, oh, we have world reserve currency, we can continue to print. And hey, maybe they're right. Who knows? They have proposed that, modern monetary theory, MMT, that, you can make as much money as you want. You're never going to have problems. The question is modern monetary theory a thing, or is it just a fantasy? Well, we don't know. It's modern. It's never been tried. It's only been really talked about since 2008 when they started.
When they crashed.
2009 when they, started printing money like there was no tomorrow. So we don't know exactly how it'll end, but it doesn't look good, and no matter how much you say that the emperor's clothes are beautiful, he ain't got none.
Still naked.
Okay, so the point is the emperor is looking more and more like he ain't got no clothes. And on top of that, we're looking at the sun setting naturally. It's been 75 years. That is typically the lifespan, right, of empire. And so it looks like they're on the way out. But they do have military. They have outspent the rest of the world annually in military. I mean, $900 billion a year. Take a look at Russia. Russia's $90 billion a year.
Yeah. They lost a hell of a lot of money twice. And because remember, before 9/11, I think the Pentagon lost some $1 trillion. And then recently they lost another $1 trillion. Oh, you didn't know about that?
What do you mean lost?
They lost it. They misallocated it.
Oh, no. If you look at the record from the George W. Bush years to now, the number is 21 trillion that is unaccounted for.
Oh, it's 21 trillion.
At the Pentagon. $21 trillion is unaccounted for in that span.
Oh, so my bad. I'm sorry. Yeah. You didn't lose $1 trillion. You lost 21.
We didn't lose it. We just don't know exactly how it was spent.
That's losing.
We don't want to tell you how we spent it.
Well, you spent some of it and you pocketed a hell of a lot of it.
Well, that ain't none of your business.
Oh man, the pottery at every single corner, like.
Okay, so there we go.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So they will fight to hold on to it.
Of course,
what I'm saying.
Of course.
Right. So with hopefully the rug will be pulled from underneath them quietly, surreptitiously. We will, as people, will simply adopt cryptocurrency and just go on our merry way, and they become irrelevant, and therefore there will be no need for war and so forth. And hopefully that's how it happens.
And the next set of billionaires are chill.
Yeah.
And not.
Well, they don't have arms. Right? Well, maybe they will.
They could buy some.
They will buy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh gosh.
I don't know.
It's a dime if you do, dime if you don't situation.
There's light at the end of the tunnel, and there's hope because the technology itself allows us to set up corruption-proof systems, political systems, voting systems, land ownership systems, record of who owns what.
Right.
So it becomes increasingly difficult to be corrupt. And so this is the great thing about blockchain, accountability. And so it brings accountability and privacy to the mix. And so the future is bright in that sense. that we will have 1,000 years of peace.
Okay. That has been the Full Gambit Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. You can find us everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, I believe the Chinese spy software, TikTok, as well as the Full Gambit Podcast. If you want to email me, it is at thefullgambitpodcast@gmail.com. Bye.
Thanks for listening. And remember, one good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. Like, subscribe, and leave a review.